Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Survivor on AfterBuzz TV. We're so excited to have you here tonight. Thanks for joining.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Just dance it up.
Hey, just get up and start dancing on the table. Hello everybody. Welcome this week to episode number 8 of Survivor. This is the Jocks versus the Pretty People. We're so excited to have you guys here tonight. Thanks for joining us as always. This is AfterBuzz TV. We're so excited to have you. Make sure to give us a like, subscribe to us on YouTube, iTunes, wherever you can. I'm your host, I'm Paige Bonanno. You guys can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Paige Bonanno, and I'm joined tonight by...
Good evening, Paige. Good evening, everybody on AfterBuzz. My name is Jaco, Vienings, and you guys can join me on social media at Jaco Vienings.
All right, thank you, Jaco. All right, let's get into Survivor.
Let's get to the episode.
All right, as I said before, it's called the Jocks versus the Pretty People.
Yes.
And we were kind of saying earlier, was this really the Jocks versus the Pretty People? Because we thought everybody was against the brains, but then, I mean, in the end, it did kind of turn around.
Hence the name of the episode, yeah.
Hence the name, even though, you know...
And going into the episode, I wondered why. So
yeah, right. But you were saying that Nick's really not classified under the Jocks.
Well, Nick is in the beauty tribe, but he's obviously classified as a jock because he's with the Jocks. He's with Jason and he's with Scott.
Right.
So that's where the name comes from. I think
he's kind of under both a little bit.
Yep.
So we'll get him from the beginning. So right when we get in, we have 3 brains, 3 brawns, and 4 beauties. So the numbers are pretty even. But we're reeling from the Neil loss still, and since Neil's been gone, Aubrey's saying the numbers are off now. Everything's off, and even though the numbers are the same, it's interesting because the brains are still on the bottom, regardless of if the numbers are the same for the Brawn. Because I guess they just kind of know from the beginning, well, everybody else is getting along. We're kind of like the misfits out here.
Absolutely. And it's funny to say because even in the previous episode, the brains were kind of turning against each other, writing each other off. So it's interesting to see that tonight not even a brain went home.
Right.
Yeah,
and they're kind of saying, it's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. And we see that is,
well, you
it
have
holds
to say
true.
It right, though. You said life is like a box of chocolates.
Box of chocolates, yeah. And it held to be true at the end. And, Aubrey's saying that the misfits will get revenge. And hey.
Guess what happened?
Won't get too far into it, but what was something that was like a little interesting to me is, and Debbie kind of mentioned at the end, going back to how there were the 3 brain, the 3 brawn, and the 4 beauty, and it seems like it's still everybody's with their original teams. Like even though we've gone into the merge now, it's still not, everyone's not really changing their sides. Pretty much most people are staying true to it at the begining.
At the beginning.
Right.
Yes, at the beginning everybody's the same.
Right. And I'm like, you would think that they would split off more, and then as we see
the episode going, now we're really starting to play the game. Now it's game time.
Yeah. And Aubrey says at the beginning too, she's like, the pretty people can't stay pretty forever. They get overripe, and I'm just going to try to find a crack and get in there. So Aubrey knows she's on the bottom. She's trying to get in with whoever she can.
She's playing the game properly now.
She's playing the game, for sure. So as everybody's kind of sitting around, there was something that was a little interesting and could be interesting as we go forward to the end, is basically how people start opening up now about their families and about their personal lives. And we see Jason open up about his daughter Chloe and her autism. Basically, about her therapy, how expensive it is, how he was naive to it before. And it was a really interesting take because we haven't really seen anybody else open up about their families and their personal lives up until now. True. And Sydney kind of says, now it's about who are you going to beat in the end? Because, people are saying, they might be using it as an opportunity, but you really as we go into Survivor, you have to tell your story if you want to win.
Definitely, if you want to win. And what do you think? Do you think he won over some of the guys with that story?
I think he did. A lot of people seem very intrigued and very...
But you have to be intrigued.
Yeah.
You can't sit there and like, you just... you're faking it, like you're lying. You're just saying that to win the money. You have to kind of be intrigued. And he said, well, I'm not doing this to, as a game move to get people on my side. But if they ask me, I'm going to be honest. Mm-hmm. Still, though, it's a very easy thing to mention that is going to get people on your side. So I think it's fine that he mentioned it, but I do think there's definitely strategy bonded to that.
Right. Well, the thing is I mean, a lot of people every time in Survivor, when someone mentions something about their family or whatever, everyone's like, oh, they're just doing this to
win the money.
To win the money. And it's like, I understand that, and yes, I think that you should open up a little bit. But, I mean, you're with these people for how long? Things are going to come out. Like, I don't think everybody strategizes. And I don't think Jason meant it in a malicious way. Like, he was just saying, hey, this is my life, you know?
And fair enough, they asked him about it. They asked him about his girls. So some of them knew and some of them didn't. However, but, I mean, I think it's maybe early to start playing that game yet. I think we're still in the stages of getting the loose ifs out of the team. And then afterwards, you know, as far as strategy, what I would have done is then at the end, you know, because these guys are voting for you in the end to win $1 million.
Right. And I agree that it's a little early, especially because the way that he kind of said it was, you know, he was talking to somebody that asked about it, and then he was like, if you guys all didn't know, like some of you may know, some of you don't, and then it was kind of opened up to the group, whereas it could have just stayed a little smaller at the time, maybe opened up more later.
But I'm actually, I have to say this though, now that I think about it, every single person voted out now is on the jury that is going to vote for the person that wins.
Right.
So that also comes into play.
It does. So you have to think about that as well. I mean, and the thing is I would rather bring up my personal stuff that at the time that that Jason did, rather than bring it up when the 3 people are there in the tribe. You know what I'm saying? True. Like, when the 3 of them are sitting there, who's going to win the $1 million? Then I don't want to be like, by the way, my daughter, you know.
You want to get them early now.
Right.
So once
because
again,
the
strategy,
timing was better.
Yeah, so it kind of fell in his lap then in that sense. All kudos to you, Jason, though, if you're watching this ever in your life. Good job, bro. Like, keep it up. Yeah. Exactly.
So yeah, we see a little bit of that, and then we get into our reward challenge, which they're playing for the ice cream.
Gosh, I don't even want to do this anymore.
We kind of looked at each other like, what?
Salt and pepper, and Caleb gets Yvette. You know, ice cream. Oh my goodness.
That's what I was saying. I was like, I wouldn't even be like too intense on this right now. You know, just play it easy. Don't break your back like Caleb did with the salt and pepper.
Yeah,
you know, it is ice cream. It sounds really good and it looked great, but I don't know.
It's just ice cream, people.
It's just ice cream, and it's just reward. But I do understand the whole thing where reward is sometimes important to people, as important to people as immunity is, because you get together. But we see with the group that did get together, there wasn't very much strategy there.
Okay.
So, did you want to say?
No. I just. Okay, no, it's fine. I just had this ice cream thing on my mind for a second, but it's fine. Never mind.
All right, so we'll get into the challenge a little bit. So basically, they have to go from stepping stones from one platform to the next, and with the people holding them down. Okay, so Aubrey and Julia are captains because we do a schoolyard pick. Aubrey has Sydney, Michelle, Joe, and Jason, and Julia picks Scott, Ty, Debbie, and Nick.
Yes.
So right away, I mean, Julie's at an advantage, is she not? She has Nick and she has Scott.
Now, do you think she picked those teams because Jeff said she picked the 2 tall ones for the strength, and then she picked the 2 small ones? You know, do you think he just said that? Do you think she actually did that?
What I'm thinking happened is Julia was first and she picked Scott, and then I think that Aubrey was next, so she was like, okay, I need to get Jason then. I need to split up. I need to split up Jason and Scott since they're always together and they're going to do well together. And then Julia was next and she picked Nick because he's the next strongest.
So I think it's tall.
What?
And he stole.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I think that was just...
The thing is, if you have the tall people, if their hands goes up much higher to the pole, meaning it's much stabler. If you're short, hold the pole at the bottom, it's top heavy.
So then I bet Aubrey picks Sydney next because she's the next strongest.
Yeah.
And then probably Ty.
So definitely what wins that game, I would say now, is tall people.
Yeah. For sure.
Tall people that hold the foot little things.
Well, because we see it's super hard to go across her. I mean, Julia was not struggling at all, and like her team was very balanced. But at first I was kind of like, wow, why does Aubrey keep falling off this? Like, does she not have any balance? But then I'm realizing like,
you can move it.
It's all about holding it, right?
Exactly.
So I felt kind of bad for them, but we see, and Aubrey, I love you so much. Like, I think you're one of the best people on the show. It was just, we were just laughing so hard every time she fell, and I'm sure she was too, because she was just face planting and like doing backflips.
But it's everybody. Fair enough. Like Sydney was face planting, Michelle, but it looked like a show of Wipeout. Like literally people falling. It was hilarious.
It did.
Thanks for the comedy show, guys.
So yeah, so basically, you know, we see that it's hard for Joe and Sydney. They can't really get it together, and that in the end,
Julia's team wins.
Yes. And so then they have to do this weird thing where they all get on the platform, which I thought was really strange, but they did it on the first try.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So then I felt bad because after we go we go back and Aubrey's feeling real bad. And I'm like, it's okay. It's just reward. It's just ice cream.
But she says it's just ice cream, but it's also one bad decision. And she says one bad decision is a snowball effect in Survivor.
Right.
Do you think that's true?
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen,
especially from her tonight, she's like, it's happening right now. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the avalanche.
Yeah, and I mean, Aubrey was doing really well at the beginning, and then it kind of just kept going one after one after one. So I feel like everything that Aubrey says is very like, it's smart, and she does a great job of
calculated.
Right. Like I really, really like her. The more as it goes on, for sure. So when we get back, they get their ice cream reward. You know, they have ice cream bars, they have ice cream sandwiches, they have literally everything you could possibly imagine. But this, like, sad part is that the other team's literally sitting 20 feet away.
Oh my God, that must be horrible.
Horrible.
Well, okay, let's put this in perspective.
Yes, let's talk about this for a second.
Let's just put this in perspective, all right? So the other team is there, and you did win a reward, and you have to enjoy this reward in front of the other team. Now, if it was full body massages while you eat like steak or chicken or something, that's fine. Once again, people, it's ice cream.
Right.
It's okay.
Right.
It looks delicious there. It's fine.
It's just the fact, though, that like regardless, it's just that they won. And these people, these people won, these people didn't, and they have to sit and they feel bad about it, and they're awkward.
Well, Debbie said she doesn't feel bad.
Yeah, Debbie didn't feel bad at all because.
But why?
Because she's Debbie. I would feel bad.
Someone like Ty would feel bad.
Ty would be like, oh my God, I can't do it.
I would sit there.
Did Ty? Oh, Ty was on the.
He was on the winning side.
He was on the winning side.
He was on the winning side, yeah.
And he felt bad?
He felt bad. He's like, I wish I could share this with him. If I was sitting there, I would just be a realist and say, well, I wish I could share, but I can't, so I'm not going to care about it. I'm not going to feel bad about it.
See, I always feel so bad about stuff like that.
That's why you're going to be in the losing team then. That's why.
Should I go on Survivor?
Yes.
No. But anyways, I felt a little bad. Debbie's like, I don't feel bad. But then I love how she says, she always tries to like bring it in. She's like, we formed such a nice little community here. I'm like, there's no community there. Like, you did not form it.
You can't wait to burn the other person's house down.
Right. You're literally just sitting there eating ice cream with them. And Julia even said, you know, it was great to eat ice cream, but there was no type of strategizing because we all have other teams.
Yeah, it's kind of an odd ones out, yeah.
Right.
For sure.
And Jason says over, hey, you know that you guys can be rowdy over there. It's okay. You won the ice cream. And some people like that, and it rubbed other people the wrong way.
It rubbed me the wrong way because I feel like it was kind of a childish thing to say. Like, let the guys enjoy their ice cream quiet. Obviously, it's awkward for them and you guys are sitting there, Jason, so
and what do you want them to do? Be like, woo!
Exactly.
Like, run around the beach?
Maybe
so
you would have sat there and be like, oh, in your face,
he
ice
probably
cream.
would.
No. Well, these guys don't. So, and that's them. So
he probably would do that now that you say it, honestly. And, you know, like we were saying, it rubbed some people the wrong way, and Michelle says, you know, he thinks he's in charge, and he's not. I mean, he kind of is, but she's like, this is rubbing me the wrong way. I don't like this. So.
Well, I mean, what we saw happening tonight, if you think about it, it didn't have to be, you know, Nick voted out. It could have been Jason or Scott. It wouldn't be, but it could have been.
Right. Right.
It was just that people in the beginning that made that decision. So you have to be careful.
Yep. And then, you know, Scott kind of follows suit from what Jason did earlier, and he kind of opens up about his family troubles here.
Yes.
So,
he says his mother has very rare illness.
A rare disease. It's kind of like a form of ALS.
Opposite of ALS.
Okay. Oh, opposite of ALS.
Yes, yeah. And then his father passed away when he was 16. So, you know, just also talking a bit about, once again, I don't want to say playing that card because I think that's inappropriate. But,
right.
But talking about it, when they asked him about it once again, it's not that like he brought it up just because Jason brought it up.
Right. Yeah. So we see a little bit about that. I think that, you know, anytime you open up about personal struggles like this, it is very sympathetic. With that aside, I think that Scott doesn't seem as sympathetic as other characters because he was in the NBA and because he already has money. I think that that's how some players would view him. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, they would view him as already having
right. Like
abundance.
I obviously feel sympathetic for him about his struggles as anybody else, but I feel like he might not be the most sympathetic player in the end.
Yeah.
I mean, if it came down to it, I feel like people would pick Jason over Scott sometimes. They're both kind of like.
I think they would pick Jason over Scott.
Yeah.
because of the
NBA
if you
thing?
go by the stories, yeah, of course.
Exactly.
But he did win over Julia, though.
He did.
Yes.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah, she really likes him, and she kind of wants to stick it by his side. But we see that Michelle really, really liked Nick, and I mean, she still went against him tonight, so you never know.
Hi, Michelle.
Hey.
You sneaky.
Yeah, I didn't think she was going to do that. I thought that Julia and Michelle were going to figure something out.
No, but these guys edit this program so well. Like, it'd be her sitting there and saying, I don't think I'm ready now to vote Nick off, and then she does it. I mean, I'm going to start picking up on these edits.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Talking about that, by the way, so we keep getting more into strategy as we go along. So
Yes.
we see that Scott and Jason are worried about an all-girls alliance, right? Scott and Jason are worried about it. Nobody else, right?
So they bring it up.
Right.
So Paige, you're saying that Scott and Jason is bringing up
Yes.
the possibility Scott and Jason of All Girls Alliance. Okay, I got it.
Scott and Jason. So we
Got it.
remember that, everybody, right? Mm-hmm. In the live chat, let us know if you remember that, okay? So they bring it up to Nick, and Nick says, hey, whatever. I'm just going to go along with it. It doesn't really matter to me. We'll see. I'm cool with where I am. Whatever, right? So then Nick's like, hey, I'm just going to talk to Julie about it and just see what's going on. So she goes, and what does Julie even say about the All Girls Alliance? She says no. She says there's no All Girl Alliance.
Yeah, she said absolutely not, which there isn't.
Right, which there was not.
At that point.
At the time.
Okay, but no, so there's nothing.
Right.
There's nothing to talk about.
Nothing. So then we see Nick and Julia come back, which Sydney's saying, this guy is so indiscreet. You know, she calls him out saying, he's literally 15 feet away from me. Like, why wouldn't he go farther into the jungle so it doesn't look obvious to everybody else? And she just calls him out in front of everybody and says, and the guys were like, they didn't have anything to say. Like, they were so awkward.
It was so awkward. They were sitting there.
They froze up, and it was terrible.
Awkward laughs, you know?
I love, too, how she said, you better get someone better than Nick with his facial expressions.
Funny.
So she's like, hey, this is kind of suspect to me. You know, how do you think that this looks? And what was funny, and we rewound this, we watched it twice, was Scott literally pointed, he wasn't saying anything, he just sits there and points to Nick like this. I'm like, it was not Nick, because you're the one that brought it up, okay? We'll get back to that. So then...
So apparently at this point, Sydney blew up.
Right? She just yelled at everybody, which I don't think she blew up.
Okay, so now they have to go get water.
Right.
Now we have to go step into Jason's office.
Mm-hmm. So Jason goes, all right, Sydney, let's go talk. And then he says, oh, Nick was the one that was worried about the All Girls Alliance. And we were like, me and Scott said, I don't know. We'll wait for Sydney. Yeah. He goes, I don't know. We'll wait for Sydney to get back. I'm like, what? You never said anything about waiting for Sydney to get back, and you were the one that brought it up.
But you really understand how genius this is now? Scott didn't know it at the time, but this is obviously not the very first seed. She's already annoyed with Nick, but this is just another seed, or pouring water on the seed that Sydney wants Nick out.
Scott?
No,
Sydney wants
Scott
Nick
doesn't.
out?
No.
Oh, Sydney.
Sydney, yeah.
Yes.
So pushing that ball forward of like, I really want Nick out.
Right.
Especially if he thinks in a Girls All Alliance.
Even though it's her
Even if it wasn't true.
Right. And it's supposed to be her alliance that's kind of, going against her a little bit.
Yeah.
And she also said, hey, this is a double standard, like, you guys can talk to whoever you want, but the second I talk to somebody, regardless of if there's any gameplay, if I'm just going to talk to them, then I get called out and you guys freak out that I'm going to be doing an all-girls alliance. So, I don't know. I thought that was really interesting, and basically, like, how Jason tried to put it back on Sydney even a little bit, saying, hey, you're the one that blew up.
You're the one, which she didn't. She was literally very calm, having a conversation. I mean, that was ridiculous.
I love how Sydney approaches things.
Do not tell me I blew up, because I didn't.
Right. I love how Sydney approaches things. I think that she's just hilarious, and she's...
Don't check me, boo.
Don't check me, boo. Yeah. So anyways, and I also like how she said, hey, I don't care. I'll call out the idol right now if you want.
Yeah, like, I'll blow up this game like you've never seen before.
Right.
See, I'm not one of this little other game, like, girls.
Right.
In the game.
But I do love how we just got that little snippet of how Jason and Scott really play. And I know you have to play the game, but come on. Keep Sydney on your side then, Anyway, so...
I'm putting up the live chat here, guys. We don't have the best Wi-Fi. But everybody, everybody for the live chat. Thanks for joining us tonight. Yeah. You guys can hashtag ABTV Survivor on Twitter, or you guys can comment right here, right now. If you're watching this after tonight, make sure you guys comment right down in the comments. Let us know how we did. Let us know your thoughts on the show, what you think is going to happen next week.
For sure. Thanks for joining us, as always. All right, so let's get into the immunity challenge now. So basically, we see the team, they have to come back, they have to balance on this little narrow perch and have their hands behind their head on this handle. Their hands can't come off at all, their feet can't come off at all. So it's not really like a crazy immunity challenge, but it gets so strenuous after a while, and you get so fatigued.
I think that the shape almost bending backwards.
Right.
Your hands are behind your head.
Exactly.
So if you just do that at home right now.
I love how Cindy pushes things. I think
Oh, wow, that's me.
Oh, I was like, wait.
Oh, that's you live.
I was like, am I coming
chat.
back in here? Like, am I hearing things?
It's yourself.
Oh
if
my
you
God.
just at home put your hands behind your head right now, you can already feel how strenuous that is.
Exactly.
And then it took 40 minutes.
And on top of that, you're sitting in the sun. Like, it just seems pretty miserable, to be honest. But, so they do this for a little bit. We don't really know how long, maybe 10 minutes or something.
Yeah.
And then Jeff goes, hey, there's a twist here. I'm going to give you guys the opportunity for temptation.
Temptation.
Temptation. And basically he says, are you guys willing to give up a shot at immunity
For food.
And what do they have? They have brownies. They have chicken wings. Pizzas.
Chicken legs. Hot dogs. 6 hot
Hot
dogs.
dogs.
A lot of cool drink to wash it away.
Wash it down, right?
Yeah.
Ketchup and mustard, everything. So basically, he's like, "What? What are you guys gonna do?"
It's a
Did someone
buffet.
drop? Nobody dropped before that, aside
No.
from Julia, right?
Oh, let's just go through this, please, because nobody dropped before that. No.
Okay, so nobody was dropped.
This is guys. This is what Jeff said. He said, "All right, guys, I'm going to give you this opportunity, but the twist to this opportunity is I'm only giving you one chance to do this. After that, you're going to have to stay on, and whoever wins wins. So I'm going to get the food. Please, nobody step down before I've even given you that window
Right.
to actually get the food after you step down.
When I come back, then you can step up.
Paige, what happened?
I honestly I don't think she even cared about the food at that point. She was just like, "Hey, I can't even do this." But I'm like, for another 2 seconds.
Stop
though?
it. Stop it.
For another 2 seconds.
Like nobody. Like I'm coming back with food. Like it literally is 2 seconds.
You
Like,
can basically see him probably.
Yeah, you can see him coming. She walked from there to the table. He was back.
I wonder, if maybe in real life it took a little longer.
It maybe it did, but
And
it
she
still
was
didn't
like,
take
hey.
half an hour.
Right. Because
It
they
did-
only did 30, it was like 40 minutes
Yeah,
total.
it was 2-3 minutes maybe, whatever.
And then right when she gets off, then he brings the food back. It's right in front of her. She can't even eat it. And from the beginning, I was
Oh my
like,
God.
I think Julia's going to do pretty
I'm
good
so
in this
hungry
challenge.
right now
I know.
just thinking about that.
And think of being there for 21 days. But
Oh, I'm so mad. Julia, she could have eaten. Okay, but
she's
listen,
probably so mad at herself.
I must say now that it shows, it speaks volumes of her, all right, not being able to last a few seconds and pushing your body versus Ty pushing his body all the way to the extreme. It speaks volumes of both of those guys.
Exactly.
And they are both opposites.
And Ty was struggling so hard at the beginning also.
Yes, from the get-go.
Right. And it didn't even seem, right away I was like, I think Julia's going to do great at this challenge. I can honestly see her winning. She's been really good at balance lately.
But she doesn't have that tolerance.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So she I guess she can't push herself as far as other people might be able to. Ty, for example. Ty was the one that was struggling the most from the get-go, literally 2 seconds in.
Yes, sweating and turning and doing all the
and
things
then
that
yeah, the fact that he made it that far. It's insane.
Well, you won. So, but anyway, let's get to the food.
Right.
Comes, and then...
So Julia's down. She couldn't wait 2 seconds more. The food comes. Then he goes, all right, who else is coming? We have Jason,
Scott,
Joe, and Michelle. Okay, Jason, Scott, Joe, and Michelle.
Steps down.
Steps down.
Good job, guys.
Wait.
And Nick. No, not Nick.
No.
Sorry.
Yeah, I was thinking that too,
No.
but then Nick stepped down
No,
later.
it's only 4.
Okay.
And it's a lot of food for a lot of 4 people. Great, yeah.
Yeah, so they have 6 hot dogs. So they have extra. So Jason, Scott, Joe, and Michelle. Jason and Scott were the first ones down. Joe was, a couple seconds later, he's like, I'm not doing this. And then Michelle was a little later.
Yeah.
And we really, really thought Ty was going to go, but he said, hey, I'm going to see how far I can push my body here. And he said, also, I don't want any of the brain to get this.
He said...
I thought that was kind of a mistake.
Yeah, because Jeff asked him, why? I can see you in a lot of pain. He's like, well, I can't let a brain win this. So that speaks volumes. And he said, that's a big thing to call out. That's a big statement to make right now,
Right.
And that's also when he asked Nick what he thinks about it. Mm-hmm. And that another thing why Cindy would get annoyed with Nick.
Right.
Just calling it out, being arrogant, saying it out there, not really caring who he is, what he says to say.
Right, exactly. So we see Debbie goes down next. I thought that Aubrey was going to be real determined here. I think she was really determined because she didn't get off the post, but she just
Look, she's a
couldn't.
smart girl.
Right,
She plays a clever game, but I think maybe when it comes to physicality, pushing your body to the extremes, somebody that's been through the water, the bamboo's going to win here.
Exactly.
Okay? The
Exactly. So once Aubrey goes down, right when Aubrey goes down, Nick jumps down. He's like, hey, I don't care about this anymore. Basically, all the brains are out. That's all that matters to me. So he goes down. We're left with Ty and we're left with Sydney. And Ty has a cute little analogy here. He's like, hey, she's so good, but, she puts so much force, she can just snap like this. Me, I'm like bamboo. I'm resilient, the wind,
swim, I can
waves.
bend. It doesn't matter. I've been through war. I've been on a ship. I'm an immigrant.
Right.
Doesn't matter. Been through worse.
Talking about that, how he says that he's an immigrant and everything, I think that Ty, the way that, you know, we were talking about before how Jason and Scott kind of just came out with their stories. Ty does it very subtly as the game goes on. He's like, hey, I was a war vet. I did this. I escaped, Vietnam or wherever he was from. He said, I escaped this. I did this. But he does it so subtly that you don't really think that he's trying to impress you.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that will definitely, like people were saying, if Ty gets to the end,
so
you're not winning. So how do we
know about this? Was it in his like opening to the show? As far as he didn't say this to anybody. I don't think anybody knows this on the island.
I thought that, okay, so he did say it in the opening, but didn't he say it at another point? Like just like in conversation?
Let us know in the comments, guys.
I think he did.
Yeah, let us know in the comments if you guys remember Ty saying anything about his story earlier in the game.
Yeah, for sure. So then in an insane turn of events at the end, Sydney just she can't handle it anymore. She breaks down.
Yeah,
and Ty
she snapped. Like Ty said.
Like he predicted.
Yeah.
So good job, Ty. We're real proud of you. Yeah. So then we go back to Lovely Camp.
Yes.
And of course, you know, Ty has immunity, so what are we going to do? I mean, they didn't want to vote Ty out anyways, but it's just kind of like, where are we going from here? What can we do, right? So the plan is a split between Debbie and Aubrey.
And the reason for that is to get the idol.
To get the idol.
Not immunity idol. I forget the name. The super idol. What happens? The reason why they're splitting the vote is because if Aubrey has a hidden idol to play it, and they'll just vote the other one. That's why they're flushing out the idol. But they don't have one, but they don't know it.
Right. Okay. Yes, makes sense. So they're going to split between Debbie and Aubrey. But then Nick, being the little arrogant man that he is, decides to go talk to Aubrey. But I understand why he went to talk to her. I mean...
Well, he said he's picking on the weak and show them that he's there for them.
And then
I don't think it was
on,
smart, though.
But Aubrey wasn't going to be the one...
If you just shut your mouth and just... this is the game that Jason and Scott plays. You make a decision, you pick it, you go with it. They're not shenanigans. But the other people, they like drama. They want to make sure Debbie, Nick, those guys.
I do agree that Jason and Scott play a good game, whereas they say something and they stick with it.
And they go with it.
And we saw that way at the beginning with Jen, how she, you know, right at Tribal, they decided to vote her out. And in an instant, they're like, hey, you're messing around. We're going to get you out.
Sorry, yeah.
That's interesting, though. But, see, I don't think that's what messed Nick over in the end, though. I think because Aubrey wasn't going to be the one to say anything. You know, Sydney was the one from earlier when he talked to Julia. That's when it got her mad, and she's kind of thinking, you know, he's really arrogant. I don't even think that Sydney knew that he talked to Aubrey, did he? Did she?
I don't think so.
Yeah. So I think it's just kind of Nick, as an overall person, just kind of annoyed Sydney, and she's like, I'm not doing this.
Oh, Nick.
But Nick does go talk to Aubrey and basically tells her straight up, hey, you need to vote Debbie. He revealed everything to her, and basically he's taking advantage of her so he can use her for the future. Which, if it would have worked out for him, I think it would have been kind of smart, but sorry, Nick.
Didn't work out.
Didn't work out for you. But, yeah, so Sydney thinks he's rubbing the wrong way, wants to take Nick out, tells it to the girls. Michelle, though, is not sure about this. She's like, hey, Nick's in my alliance. Like, I can't break.
I don't think I'm ready at this point.
Right.
She will do it, but just at this point, I don't think I'm ready to vote Nick out.
Exactly. And basically, you know, we see kind of right before we go to Tribal and before we hit to commercial, we see Michelle and Julia saying, hey, we got to figure something out here.
So now, just a very strong point here that Julia and Michelle is inseparable.
Inseparable. And Michelle
like
did...
Scott Jason.
Exactly. Michelle did say, too, she was like, you know, I got to figure out what's best for me and Julia. She didn't say, I need to figure out what's best for me. She said, I'm going to find out what's best for me and Julia.
They are together.
They are together. You know what would be smart now that you bring up that?
Please tell me, Paige.
Julia, Michelle, Scott, and Jason foursome. That is unbreakable.
Yeah, but
that
what happens in the end?
Unbreakable.
And that would be good gameplay as well in the end, because what happens with this final four?
That is good strategy, you guys. Is that? Oh my gosh! Wait, I just am so excited now that we just thought of that.
Hopefully that happens.
I don't think it. Do you think it will? Well,
hey, we'll have to see. Let's leave it for the prediction.
Julia did say that she really likes Scott.
Yeah, after his story, yeah.
And now that Nick's out, maybe Michelle's gonna need a new someone to cling to.
But Sydney's still the thing there. But we'll get the predictions. But Sydney is still like a loose, you know, which side is she on? Yeah.
Right. All right. So then we go into Tribal. You know. Is it just me, or do Jeff's questions like every season get more and more like he keeps asking them to reveal more? And everybody at Tribal,
it's not just you, Paige.
Right?
No, that's how it works.
And
though.
everybody at Tribal just tells everything right out on the table.
Well, it's like he said, the rules of the game is I'm going to ask you questions at tribal, and what you need to do is you need to satisfy me with your answer.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't just say, no, I don't know, I don't want to talk about it. That's not part of, like, if you sign up for this game, you know, this is what you do. You need to satisfy him.
Do you think that's what they say?
That's what he said.
He said that?
Jeff said, like, if when I ask you, like, this
When
is
did
how
he say that?
I just watched, like, research and watched.
Oh my God, I never knew.
Yeah.
I mean, I figured that they wanted the answers.
Otherwise, think about it. Otherwise, you guys at home can imagine if Jeff's asked you a question and you know this, like when Jen burned down right in the beginning, that question, she could have just said,
right.
And that's not good enough. You've never seen that in Survivor almost.
Uh-huh. And Jen would have stayed had it not been for that,
Yeah.
so they liked that drama.
So obviously Jeff is trying to mix it up, and how good a gameplay is it? Almost from Jeff's side to right at the end, everybody thinks they know what they're going to do, and then he asks the exact questions because he knows what's going on.
Right.
To try and have people switch and turn and make it interesting for us
Right.
at home.
Jeff, you're the best.
Yes.
So anyways, yeah, Julia basically says, hey, people are starting to feel comfortable around here. And basically, it's an opportunity to switch things up. But it didn't seem like Nick really picked up on that or that he thought anything of it.
Well, yeah, but because at the thing, he asked him a question, and Nick just bluntly, once again, just said, well, this is what's going to happen tonight, Jeff. We're going to split the votes.
Yeah.
Done.
Right.
He just said it. Okay?
Yeah, he's a little arrogant. And then also, can we talk about at Tribal how Ty... I feel like Ty just keeps digging his own grave with this idol talk.
Okay, so he's a little bit... I think the reason why he wanted to win the immunity is because he wants the immunity. It's not because he wants to push his body to the edge. I think he's a nervous player. He goes, in the very first day at camp, he goes search for the idol. He finds the idol. Good enough. And now he wants immunity. And he's going to try and win every challenge. And that's going to dig him he's going to dig his own grave because they're going to see that this guy can push his body way past limits than any of the other people can, regardless of how strong they are.
Right. And I mean, Jeff knows that Ty's going to babble about it. Like, this is like the second or third time that he's asked, Ty, what about the idols? Ty, what about these? Like, and Ty just keeps talking, and it's like, ugh, just stop. Just like,
Well,
don't say anything.
Once again, he has to say something.
I know.
He has to say something. But so he drops the bomb of, hey, there's a super idol. Okay, which is great. And just once again, Jeff's play, because him talking about it, Julia making the face, and then Debbie saying, Julia, the fact that you don't even know that there's a super idol just shows that you are in the bottom of this little totem pole that you guys are in.
Yes. So do you think that Julia was the only one that didn't know about this?
I think there's a few more.
Michelle's probably doesn't know. But she
No.
probably just didn't react the way that Julia did.
Yeah.
Yeah, because why would Ty bring that up? Because not everybody knows it. You only know about that if you have the idol because it says super idol.
He didn't ask a question specifically to the idol, but he answered the question like that.
Right, he answered it wrong because
I think that resulted in Nick. I don't think they might have decided to send Nick home before. Maybe they did. I don't know. I don't think they did. I think all these things that they ask at the tribal is what changes minds. Another thing that's saying is this tribal was very blunt. It was, Aubrey, what's going on here? And Aubrey called out the lines. This, and this person is in a
this
an
person,
alliance.
they're all together. Yeah. And she goes, and we're on the bottom. But something I found funny was like, Aubrey kind of scrambles a little bit. You know, Debbie tries to just make her way into different things. And like, Joe just doesn't care. Like, he's like, hey.
It looks like he's there for the ride.
He's
just
there
relax.
for the ride. That's what I love. And Joe's been there for 21 days. Like, he's doing a good job. And he just doesn't. He's like, hey, what's going to happen is going to happen.
But listen, we need to see this guy start performing because he is on the chopping block. He is a brain.
Right.
And right now, like you started when we said in the beginning, these guys were all brawns, beauties, and brains. But now, after tonight, that doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
So hopefully I see, and we can see Joe starting to really like play the game.
Right.
Like make decisions, win immunity, like be strong, like, you know, be FBI agent.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, as Sydney was saying, like, you got to start thinking about who you can win against at this point. Craziness. Anyway, so that's what happened. Then we see, you know, they do their votes and Nick gets the boot.
Chopping block. The tribe has spoken.
The tribe has spoken.
Brother.
Bye, Nick. So we see that Sydney, Michelle, Julia, Debbie, Aubrey, and Joe all vote for Nick. So that's 6. We see Ty votes for Jason.
Weird. I saw that in the live comments as well. Why did Ty vote for Jason?
And like, so then Jason and Scott vote for Aubrey. So
Yes.
wouldn't you think that Ty would just go with that? Like, you don't want
He was
someone to be like,
supposed to, because he's in part of the alliance.
Right.
But so what's happening here? And it's not like he's part of their alliance, and then he got turned and suddenly he's voting Nick out. He's going on his own thing.
actually, Ty was supposed to vote for Debbie because the Brawns were going to do Aubrey and the Brains were going to do Debbie.
But they're going to know that it was him then.
That's
that
what I'm
voted
saying.
Jason.
So why did he vote for Jason? He should have voted for Debbie
Brother,
because it doesn't
Ty,
matter.
What is going on here?
Right. What's it to him at this point? Vote for who you need to vote for so people...
Stay out of the limelight. Like, just stay in the shadows.
Because watch, they're going to go back to Tribal next week and Jason's going to say, who voted for me?
Well, he's going to know because he knows that there was a second vote, and the only second vote that was supposed to vote for Debbie was Ty.
But
So
at
he's gonna
this point,
know.
Jason and Scott don't even know what the whole... I mean, now they know that Sydney turned against them, but...
Yes. Because there's a few people that didn't vote with him. Michelle didn't vote with him.
Julia got involved
Julie didn't
with
vote with him. And Ty, well, they don't know about Ty, but I mean, I don't
Why
think...
did Ty vote for Jason?
Okay,
now
so-
it's just he's just going to be on the chopping block. for that.
Don't think that's a smart move, but maybe this will power them forward to try and get the Brawns out, because he's stirring the pot now. Mm-hmm. So now, and people are going to get.
But you just
angry.
think he didn't talk to anybody before Tribal and was just like, I'm just going to go with Jason. Like, what did that have to do with anything?
I think so. It had nothing to do with anything.
It's like literally being like, I'm just going to vote for Michelle tonight. Like, nobody talked about Michelle. Nobody talked about Jason tonight.
Yeah,
It just doesn't make
never.
sense to me.
Except Debbie, but it was never an opportunity or question.
Right.
Yeah.
Ty, if you're watching, can you let us know what you were thinking?
Let us know what you think, brother.
Let us know. All right. Well, I mean, that's Survivor.
That's Survivor episode 8.
Yeah, maybe we should get into predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
What are you thinking, Jaco? What's your predictions for next week?
I think you brought up a good point here of Jason and Ty. I think the Girls Alliance thing is going to need to happen. I think there's going to be some toe stepping here, but I think that Jason and Scott are going to start unraveling this blanket a bit.
Jason and Scott are going to come.
Yeah, they're going to start just calling out, asking questions. I think they're very straight players, and I think they're going to play the game like that next time. And we saw in the predictions that they were going to hide the knife and all that kind of stuff so they can starve them out, which is kind of gameplay I haven't seen before.
Right.
Kind of weird. But I think that the Brawns are on their way out because I think people see them as a threat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you're right about saying that Jason and Scott are very straightforward and they're just going to go ahead and ask everybody, like, what happened? Like, tell us what's going on. And I think it's going to cause a lot of problems between Sydney and her original alliance. What I hope would happen is that Julia, Michelle, Scott, and Jason will form an alliance, but I don't know if I can actually predict that at this point.
That would be amazing.
It would. Would it not?
Tell me, Paige, real quick, what do you think? Who do you think is going to be the next person that's going to be voted out?
Oh, God. Debbie or Joe, maybe.
Debbie or Joe?
Or honestly, at this point, I have no idea. Like,
it's going to be mixed up. From here on forward, it's fair game. There's no more Brawns, Beauty,
right.
or Brains.
Especially because, like, the whole Nick thing. Nobody thought he was going
the whole Ty
tonight.
thing, that for Jason, and, so...
Yeah, Ty could be on the chopping block now because of Jason being mad at him.
So put your stamp on it. Who do you think?
Me? I don't know. Maybe Jason, honestly.
Jason? Same thing. I think
Really?
it's Jason. Yep. I think it's Jason next.
Because I feel like Ty could maybe be it, but he has the immunity idol, so. I don't know, you guys. What do you think? Let us know.
What do you think? Comment. Drop a comment below in the comments. YouTube, let's do this.
Exactly. Make sure to give us a thumbs up as well. Anyways, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight for Survivor Season 32. This was the Jocks versus the Pretty People. You guys are awesome. You're always joining us. We're so happy about it. Let us know how we're doing. I'm Paige Bonanno. I'm your host. You guys can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Paige Bonanno. And where can they find you?
You can find me all over social media at Jaco Vienings. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody on YouTube.
See you next week.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.